All right, welcome in everybody. Welcome to Microsoft 365 Productivity Tips and Tricks. My name is Faz Kareem and I'm with Learnit, and you're in store for a treat. A jam-packed session talking about Microsoft 365 products such as Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, and tips and tricks that we can use among them to increase efficiency and productivity. Now, I'm really glad to have you all here watching this video. And we have a pretty nice topic list in store for us. Let's go over that before we begin. Now, the very first thing I like to start with in this session is shortcut techniques. I want to spend some time talking about some universal shortcuts that you can use across Microsoft 365 to increase productivity. These are basic shortcuts that you're probably going to use every day. And if you adopt yourself to start using them in your workflow, it does increase efficiency. We'll talk about 10 keyboard shortcuts that will help us increase efficiency across Microsoft 365. I also spend a lot of my time, whether it's in PowerPoint, Excel, or Word, having to navigate across a document, a spreadsheet, or PowerPoint. I want to talk about tools, tips, and tricks that you can use for selecting items, highlighting items, and navigating across certain items. And Microsoft 365 is a pretty customizable interface. As you all know, since 2007, we refer to the top part of your screen in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook as the ribbon. Hence why we call it the ribbon interface. I just want to spend some time doing an overview of the ribbon interface, talk about the terminology that we use, and show you a special area known as the Quick Access Toolbar that can be customized to add certain items and commands and tools that are more frequently used than others. And once the toolbar is there, you can use it across all of your files on the application. And this will just save you time, and you can also assign keyboard shortcuts to items in your Quick Access Toolbar. Great tip for saving time when using those frequently used tools across the ribbon. And whether you're using a PowerPoint presentation, an Excel workbook, or a Word document, I want to spend time talking about building and creating a template so that you're not reinventing the wheel every time you need to create something. You can have your company colors, your formatting, certain layouts in place on those files you're ready to work on. I also want to spend time talking about Outlook and some more advanced features that we have available in Outlook. One of them being a search folder. I know a lot of users frequently use that search bar to go through their inbox and look for attachments, categories, subject lines, specific users that sent messages. Well, you can build a search folder that will save your search in a folder. No extra data gets added, no extra data gets moved, but a new area that you can click on that has a search folder available for your searches. We'll talk about setting that up and the different varieties of search folders that you have available. Great tip in Outlook there. That's not all for Outlook. I want to talk about a little bit of automation using Outlook rules to manage your inbox. You can create a rule that, based off the subject line, based off the user who sent it, based off any field really, you can have it move to a folder or do or commit a certain action based off the rule. And we'll also talk about quick steps where you can do multiple actions like categorize an email, move it to a folder, and forward it to a specific user, all in one step, hence the word quick step. I'll also spend time talking about how you can create a chart in Excel, but then spend time customizing it. And then once you customize it, you can save it to your template gallery. And once the chart template is saved, you can use it on other charts. That way you're not reinventing the wheel every time you create a chart. You have that consistent look for the chart you're going for. We'll also spend time talking about recording macros in Excel. A macro is a small set of computer instructions where you can record yourself doing something in a language called VBA, Visual Basic for Application. And then you can rerun that recording, and everything you recorded will play. And you can access that recording using a keyboard shortcut, using a button in the ribbon that you set up, or even adding a button on the screen in the workbook to trigger the macro. We'll also spend time in our presentation tool PowerPoint, and we'll talk about something called the Slide Master, which will help us adjust the overall layout and theme of our presentation without making too many minor edits. We can do it all in one go by controlling a Slide Master page. We can control each layout across all of our presentations by going to the layouts and adjusting them, adding them, renaming them, modifying them, all that fun stuff. So I would definitely say there's something in here for all of us, whether that be the shortcut techniques, the quick access toolbar and the ribbon interface, or the use of templates, or the use of our advanced Outlook features, or maybe Excel's macros, or even PowerPoint Slide Master. I'm excited to get started, and I hope you're excited to learn this material today. I do encourage you after each one of these segments to pause the video and practice a little bit. See if these shortcuts work for you, or if that topic is something you can set up in your Outlook or maybe your Excel. That way you gain a little bit more confidence on these topics as you move along in the session. Let's get started, everyone. All right, let's get started here. I do encourage you to maybe open up a Word document as well and maybe have it ready so that if you get the itch or urge to practice these shortcuts, you're able to do so. That being said, keep in mind this video can always be rewinded and paused and played anytime. So let's get started with some basic keyboard shortcuts so that we're not constantly grabbing the tools from the ribbon every time we need to make an edit or a formatting change like I'm doing. Now, one of the most useful shortcuts I definitely recommend to learn and pick up is the copy shortcut. I want you to know that inside the Home tab, you have a command group called Clipboard. Inside the Home tab, I have a command group called Clipboard. And if I have something highlighted here, I have the option to go to that command group, and the option to copy something is available. Now keep in mind, I also have the ability to use a keyboard shortcut to copy things though. And that's going to save me time instead of running up and grabbing the copy command. If I were to highlight this here and hit Control C, it would be Command C if I was on a Mac. I have the ability to go ahead and hit Control V to paste it. So we kind of went over two shortcuts here. The copy shortcut, Control C, and then instead of going up to the option to paste, which is right next to copy, you add something to your clipboard, you copy something, and then you paste it from your clipboard. I'm going to use Control and the letter V for copy. And paste. Control C is going to copy that information, and Control V is going to paste that information. And of course, we have the paste option here. Control V. Now keep in mind, I also have the opportunity to cut. I can cut text directly out and paste it somewhere else. That's also inside the Home tab in my clipboard command group inside of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. If I do Control X, that's the same thing as me grabbing something and going over to this scissors. That's the cut. I'm going to go ahead and cut this selection, Control X. And on the bottom here, I'm going to hit Control V to paste it as the third shortcut there. Probably the most heavily used shortcuts in Office here, or your computer. Copy, paste, cut. Try that out. I recommend to pause the video to see if you can get that down. Try to copy some text, paste it, and then see if you can cut the text and paste it before we move on to our fourth shortcut here. This next shortcut is the undo shortcut. Again, from the Home tab, you have a command group. You have a command group called undo. And instead of going to the option to undo here, I can actually track my last 75 actions with the undo and click on it. I can go back 75 times, unless I've closed the document. Once I close it, it clears itself, the undos. I can also use the keyboard shortcut Control and the letter Z to use undo. It just undoes your last action. Now keep in mind, there also is a feature called redo, which is inside the Home tab, inside the undo command group. And redo undoes the undo. So if I hit Control Z, but oh no, I wanted to redo that, I can hit Control Y. It's the same thing as me going to the redo option. So if I hit Control Z, notice how the option to redo typing, Control Y, becomes available. Now, if I need to grab all of this text and increase the font size a little bit, I'm going to use another shortcut to grab the text Control and the letter A. I can very well go to the Home tab. I rarely do this, I admit. I can very well go to the Home tab of Word, Excel, PowerPoint. There's an editing command group. There's an option to use select, and there's an option to use select all. So if I go to my Home tab here, I can see the editing command group and the option to use select here. And I can use select all. I can also use the keyboard shortcut Control and the letter A. Control and the letter A. So if I hit Control A, it's the same thing as me going to the Home and hitting select all, which would be great for our large documents. And I just want to decrease the font size a little bit here so they're all on one line. There we go. Now another useful shortcut that I can use is the Find shortcut. In the Home tab, I have a command group called Editing, and from there I have a tool called Find. I can search this document and find specific text or phrases. I can also use the keyboard shortcut Control and the letter F to open up the Find dialog box. Same results. Same results. Now I already have 7 shortcuts in the document. And I've already saved this file to OneDrive, so it's automatically being saved. But if I'm not using OneDrive and I need to trigger a save, I have a keyboard shortcut for saving. Now, inside the ribbon, you have a File tab. And from there, you have an option to save or save as. I can use the keyboard shortcut Control S to trigger the save or save as, depending on if it's the first time I've saved the document or if I'm just updating the data within the document that I've already created and saved. Now, when it comes time to print this document, keep in mind you also can go to the File tab and choose the print option. But the keyboard shortcut Control and the letter P works just as good to take you there. So File, there's my print option. Control P takes me over to my print option, which is great. I can switch the orientation of my papers, choose the style of paper I'm using to print, and adjust my margins if I need to in the printer settings. And last but not least, another very useful shortcut that I use across all documents here would probably have to be Control and the letter N. Control N will go ahead and open up a new document. As opposed to me going to, let's say, the File tab, going to Open and choosing Browse. So there we have it. 10 basic universal shortcut techniques that you can use in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, even when you're browsing the web for the most part. Some of these shortcuts, copy, paste, undo, redo, when you're browsing the web. These are universal shortcut techniques that I recommend you pick up on and use throughout these Office products, these Microsoft 365 products. Spend some time. Practice these shortcuts. Figure out which one's your favorites. And then come back to the video so we can start talking about additional topics here coming up next. All right. I'm inside of the Navigation and Selection Shortcuts workbook. It should be available to you. This only has one worksheet, the Creating Tables worksheet here. And I want to say that once you pick up on navigation shortcuts, navigation and selection shortcuts, you're going to make your life a lot easier browsing these spreadsheets. So, the first shortcut I want to introduce, and we talked about it in our basic shortcuts, is Control and the letter A. Control and the letter A will highlight all of the data that you're surrounding in Excel with your cell address box. So if I have a cell address box here, and this data is surrounding it, I can use Control and the letter A to grab that data. Control A. As long as there's not an entirely blank column or an entirely blank row in the way, it would be able to grab all of the data, hence the shortcut Control A. But in Excel, there are times where I need to select specific rows, specific columns, and instead I use specific highlighting shortcuts, like Control-Shift and a directional arrow. Now the Control Shift and the arrows will highlight in a specific direction. So if I want to grab this header row and highlight it, I can hit Control Shift and the right arrow. If I hit Control Shift and the down arrow, then you can always go hit Control Shift back up, Control Shift back to the left to undo the highlighting. I can also select a column, Control Shift down to get one single column at a time, and Control Shift back up. I can also do the Control and click method. This will allow me to select cells that aren't near each other. I select one cell and I hold the Control key and I click another. While holding the Control key, I click another. While holding the Control key, I click another. This way I can format cells that aren't near each other without having to do it separately. You know, a lot of these shortcuts also work on your computer. I'm going to pull up my File Explorer here, because I can also hold down the Control key to select multiple items in my File Explorer. I can also use the Shift key. If I select the cell and I hold down Shift and I select the next cell, it goes through the range of cells. So the Shift click. So if I want to grab, let's say, the first 5 last names, I can hold down the Shift key. Once I select this, I'm holding down the Shift key. It highlights through the first 5. Same thing that happens for the File Explorer. If I have this top item selected and I go to here and I hold down the Shift key, it goes through the items. Just basic navigation shortcuts and selection shortcuts. I encourage you to pause the video and see if you can open up this file and maneuver around it using shortcuts. Go into it and hit Control A and see if you can highlight the full data set. And maybe insert the table. That's something we can do with the full highlight. Or maybe you need to grab a certain row, Control Shift to the right, and you need to increase the font size to that row. Practice your shortcuts and come right back. All right, let's spend some time talking about the Microsoft 365 interface. Now, this document will be inside the files, but this interface that we're discussing is called the ribbon interface. And it's been called that since 2007. And what they mean by the ribbon is they're just simply referring to the very top part of your screen as the ribbon. That's what they call it, the ribbon. Top part of your screen, the ribbon. I want you to know that in the ribbon, there is something called the ribbon display options. And you can adjust the way the ribbon looks inside of your Office products. I have the opportunity to show only the tabs in the ribbon. Now I can see just the tabs. Home, Insert, Draw, Design. These are tab names. I also can go back and click on one of these tabs, and they show me the command groups, but every time I click away, it goes back to just tabs. Because the setting that I have set is tabs only. I can also go over to always show the ribbon. That's going to ensure that I have the tabs at the very top and the command groups that are labeled at all times. Now you're going to notice that there are plenty of tools and commands that you can access in this ribbon interface by going tab to tab. And from these tabs going into the command group and selecting the tools. Now keep in mind that some of these command groups have a little corner near them, letting you know that there are additional tools and options and settings that you might want to investigate about that command group, like my clipboard command group. It has a clipboard. It has a whole area that I can use to paste and select items. I can go over to my font command group and click on this corner. I can see a much more advanced font settings that I can access, including character spacing. Even my paragraph command group has one for indents and spacing and line and page breaks that are more advanced. And if we're pulling styles, I can also go to the more advanced styles options. And here I have a separate window that I can use to set my styles as I go across my larger documents. Now you're going to notice that not every command group has one of these. Just some of them do. I want you to know that because there are hundreds of tools in the ribbon interface, they've designed a toolbar. It's called the Quick Access Toolbar. And everyone has it in your Microsoft 365 products like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. Everyone has it. The Quick Access Toolbar, I'm going to click on it. It's this little arrow here that allows me to customize it. But at the current moment, the only item that's on there is Save. The Quick Access Toolbar there. I have the opportunity to go to this toolbar and add specific items to it, like maybe the option to create a new Word document from here. Or open a new document. Or save the document. I already have that up here, so I'm going to remove that one. Or maybe email the document. Maybe undo your last action. And maybe redo your last action. These items are pretty typical to have on your Quick Access Toolbar. Why? Because they're in the menu. And there's some of the options that are available readily inside of this menu. I want you to know that you can add any single tool that you want from any command group to your Quick Access Toolbar. What you do is you do a right click on the tool. This is going to allow you to add it to your Quick Access Toolbar. So if I want to add, let's say, the option to use the Format Painter to the Quick Access Toolbar, I can right click. And the option to add to the Quick Access Toolbar is available to me. Now it's there for me. I don't have to be on the Home tab to use it. If I ever want to remove the item, I can right click and hit Remove from Quick Access Toolbar. So I encourage you to add the items that you're going to use frequently, like maybe the Replace tool, to the Quick Access Toolbar. The Format Painter to the Quick Access Toolbar. If you're going to go around highlighting text in your document, the Quick Access Toolbar. There's also a method that you can use to access these items called Access. Access is only available on the PC, but you can hold down the Alt key. And now, Access, this feature, is showing me that I've created a keyboard shortcut for every single item on the Quick Access Toolbar, including my ribbon, but the Quick Access Toolbar ones are quick and easy to access. Alt and a number will give me access to these tools. I love it. So you can ultimately build keyboard shortcuts that are suitable for you and that you'll eventually remember because you created them in the order that you want. Just have to hold down the Alt key to pull up the Access menu for the ribbon interface. Now, in 2019, I believe, or I should say in our Office 365 updates, they decided to give us the opportunity to get this ribbon and customize it a little bit further. I have the chance to get the quick access toolbar that's on the top of the ribbon, and I can go down and move it to the bottom of the ribbon. Now, the quick access toolbar is on the bottom of the ribbon for me, and if you have a larger screen size, you will get the opportunity to show the command labels. If you have a small screen size, this opportunity will not be available to you. It will not show up in the menu. It's contextual. But I have an ultra-wide screen here, so the opportunity to hide or show the command labels for the tools is available. That way I know what icon they are, without hovering over and waiting for the name to appear. Keep in mind I've gotten pretty used to what icon matches what label, but I like just having them on there. I have the real estate for it on my screen size. The ribbon interface, fully customizable in a sense that you can expand it, collapse it. Your tools are located in an organized fashion in tabs and commands. Some of them are hidden in these little arrows there that we have to access. And some of them can be easily added to the quick access toolbar with a right click or the little drop down arrow there. And don't be too shy if you don't see your quick access toolbar on the top. Just notice that it's there on the bottom. If you want to move it, you can do that as well. I encourage you to pause the video and see if you can add a couple items to your Word quick access toolbar that you frequently use, or maybe your Excel or PowerPoint or Outlooks. And see if you can customize it by moving it to the bottom or top, pick your preference, and also investigate and see if you can use those access methods to access those shortcuts and those tools that you've added to the top of the ribbon. Have fun with it. Don't forget to come back. Still some goodies to share. I want you to know that when you launch your Microsoft 365 products like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, since 2013, you get taken to the start screen. It's not anything new, but it is a very useful screen that opens up on the start of your Microsoft 365 products. And the reason why I'm mentioning it now is because when you start your products, there's actually an area that you can go to access your templates. I can also go to the option that says New to access my templates here. It does the same thing as me clicking on More Templates. It just takes me over to New. But a really cool aspect of these Microsoft 365 products is you can create a template. You can just change the Word file type to a Word template, the PowerPoint file type to a PowerPoint template, or the Excel file type to an Excel template. And if you do that, you'll have access to that file and all of its contents as a template file. You can open it from the start screen, and it will open up as a clean file with that savings that you've laid out, that formatting that you've laid out every time that you saved it. So if you have to build a monthly budget sheet, an expense sheet, a progress tracker of some sort, a project planner of some sort, and you're going to constantly use this project after project, budget after budget, it just makes sense to save the template. You're not reinventing the wheel every time you're doing that budget plan or that project plan. Now, I want to build a template file to track my monthly sales. That way I'm not having to add the columns and the headers over and over again for each of the 4 weeks of the month. Let me open up a blank dirt workbook and talk about the template creation process. I'm going to be using Excel for this, but keep in mind the same process happens in Word and in PowerPoint for creating and saving and accessing the templates. So I just want to build a template to track my sales. I said for a restaurant here. Let's call it Faz Food. Just a made-up name there, Faz Food. And I just want to use this template to track the weekly sales for each salesperson. And I'm going to take advantage of tracking their weekly sales. So let me put a column for each week. I'll do week 1 to week 2 to week 3 to week 4 using my autofill handle. And then I'm just going to increase the column of this, column A, by double clicking. Cool. I'll put salesperson 1 as a placeholder text and salesperson 2 as placeholder text and salesperson 3 as placeholder text. I also want to make sure that I calculate the totals for the week. So I'm going to leave an empty cell here for some formulas that people can add numbers to, and it'll calculate the sum total. And I'll copy that down for all the salespeople here. That way, for the 3 salespeople, as we go and type the numbers that we have, we typically have 3 on staff every day. I can see that it's totaling up the totals there. I'm also going to make sure that these cells themselves are set up to have currency formatting so that as I type the numbers, they show up as currency. That's cool. And since I'm going to be reusing this month after month, I'm just going to highlight the top row, go to my Home tab, and I'm just going to set this up with a header. I'll make it a heading 3. I'll grab the salespeople names and I'll go over to the Home tab and highlight them. And I'll style them up as, I'll do about a 20% accent of blue. I'll grab the week 1 through week 4 empty cells and I'll label them as input cells. Just styling things up so that it looks pretty for us. And I'll also get this last column here and I'll mark it as an output, letting us know that our output goes here. Cool. Let me also mark this as a title here. I'll go to my Home tab and I'll mark this as a title. See, I wouldn't want to do that every month. I won't want to have to format this and add the header rows and these formulas every month. That's going to take a while. Every month I'm going to be taking some time building this. Pause the video and see if you can build a template yourself. And just add some quick styling to it, some quick formulas to it. You can also use the one that's available. I'll leave this one available too. But when I go to the File tab here, and it becomes time to actually create the template now, it's a matter of changing the way you save the file. Now I can go to the File tab and choose Save As, and choose the file type as an Excel template file. I can also just hit F12 to open up the Save As box. F12 would just open up the Save As box instead of going to the File tab. I'm ultimately just saying to make sure to save this as an Excel template. When you do that, it's going to automatically change the location of where this file is being saved. It's going to save it in your custom Office templates folder. This is the folder that your Office products use to show you the templates on the start screen. It has to be saved here in order for the template to populate on the start screen. Keep in mind, if you change the location to, let's say, your desktop, your documents, you will not be able to access the template on the start screen. It will not act as a template file if it's not in the designated location. So I've saved it as a template in the designated location. I'm going to hit save. Now, the next time I open Excel, or if I just go to the File tab here and I go over to New, I will have access to my personal template library. This personal template library will have the custom fast food template available for me to use month after month whenever it's that time to track my fast foods monthly sales. I encourage you to pause the video and see if you can create a template file. Create the template file and then save it. And then see if you can access it from the File tab. See if it's there under Personal. Don't forget, there's still more to cover, and come right back. All right, I'm over here in Microsoft Outlook's desktop app. One topic that I want to mention is the fact that we have access to a folder tab. Now, before we get started here, if you so happen to not have access to a folder tab, it's because you're using what we call the simplified ribbon view. If you right-click one of the tabs, one of the options will be to switch over to the simplified ribbon. I'm going to do that now. This is my simplified ribbon, which no longer has the folder tab. Now keep in mind, the folder tab is going to hold the item that I want to refer to. I'm going to right-click and use the classic ribbon again. I also want to mention that Outlook recently had a change and they moved their navigation menu to the top left instead of the bottom left, and also give you the opportunity to add new applications to it like Microsoft To Do. If you're not a fan of this new layout, keep in mind you can always go to the File tab, and under your options, you can adjust the layout under Advanced. If you turn off Show Apps in Outlook and uncheck this, and hit OK, and once you restart Outlook, it will go back to the original layout that you had in the beginning with your navigation menu on the bottom left. I'm going to keep it as is, the newer interface, since that's what we have as the latest interface, but in case you wanted to change it from the File tab, under Options, under Advanced. I'm going to go over to my Folder tab now that it's there, and I've noticed a lot of users love creating folders. But they don't use enough search folders. A search folder is actually a search that you can save. So if I go ahead and click on this search folder here, the new search folder option, I have the ability to create a folder that saves a search for unread mail. Mail flagged for follow-up. Mail that's unread or flagged for follow-up or important mail. I have a category for mail from people and lists. I can choose mail from and to specific people, and then I can choose the user, and it will automatically show up in the folder. I can also just do mail from specific people, or mail sent directly to me, or mail sent to public groups. I can also use a category for organizing mail and have categorized mail automatically show up in a search folder depending on the category I've assigned. Larger mail or old mail, or even mail with attachments or specific words in the body of the message. And if all of these categories aren't enough, I have the option to create a custom search folder with my own search criterias. Now I'm going to build a search folder to hold some of my categorized mail. And when I go here, I have the opportunity to pick what category the search folder will move these items. I'm going to mark it, if I mark something with this example category, I want it to automatically move into the search folder. So right now it's showing me one thing that's in the search folder here. But if I go back over to my inbox and I mark something with the example category, like a right-click, categorize example, I'm going to go back over to my search folder here, and I can see that it's available there in the search folder as well. Keep in mind, search folders will always show up at the very bottom of your inbox in the search folder category. It did not move this email out of my inbox. It did not move it, and it did not make a copy. It's simply showing me a filtered view of my inbox from the search folder area, and it's only showing me those emails that have the category. If I were to remove the category, it removes itself from the search folder and it still remains in my inbox. I encourage you, if you do plan to use search folders, to right-click and add them to your favorite section of Outlook. At the very top of your folder pane, you have a favorite section. That way you can quickly access those common searches that you do. Now keep in mind, if you're noticing that you don't have a favorite section, it's not available, you can always go to the View tab, and from the View tab you have access to a command group called Layout. And inside the Layout command group, you can open up the folder pane and turn on the favorites or turn off the favorites. So I encourage you to definitely, before skipping to the next segment of these videos, to see if you can create a search folder. It doesn't have to be one for categorized mail. I sometimes build a search folder that's for a specific user, and you can choose them from your contacts. Keep in mind, if you have access to more than one mailbox, you can choose what contact list you want to access from. I'm going to select an example here. And I'm going to pick Joseph Patty here and build a search folder for Joseph Patty inside of my Outlook here. No items are being moved to the folder, but it's just displaying all of Joseph Patty's messages inside of one folder. Pretty nifty, pretty useful to manage your inbox, especially if you're constantly going up to this search box and searching for, let's say, that category. I'm constantly searching for that category example. This is going to produce the same results as my search folder. Or if I'm constantly going to this inbox here and I'm searching for Joseph Patty's messages from, and I type in Joseph Patty's. This is my search folder for Joseph here. Give it a go. Give it a go before pausing and going to the next video. Try going to your folder tab and see if you can build at least like 1 to 2 search folders. You can add them to your favorite section, and if you don't like the search folder you created, you can always right-click and delete the folder. It will clearly tell you that the items in the folder will not be deleted. It's simply going to delete the saved search that you created. Go ahead and practice search folders there, and remember, if you don't have the folder tab, it's because you're using the simplified ribbon, and that's just a matter of right-clicking and going back to the classic to have access to the folder tab. All right, another great advanced Outlook technique that you can use to manage your inbox is the ability to go to the Home tab and take advantage of something called Outlook Rules. Inside of the Move command group, you have access to the Rules command, and you can automate certain messages to be moved to a certain folder by building a rule for that. Whether it's based off the subject, the criteria, the sender, or any field really, I'm going to create an Outlook rule to move a specific file, or email I should say, to a folder based off a criteria. I'm going to create a rule here. And because I had this email highlighted, it's going to automatically build the rule based off of this email. And from here, I can build the rule for when I get an email with all of these selected conditions. I can choose whether or not it's from a specific sender to trigger the rule. Use the subject line if it contains these words to trigger the rule. Or direct whether the message was sent to me or to different users to trigger the rule. I really encourage you that if you plan to use this, to have the new folder or the new email show up in the new item alert window once it gets moved. That way you get a notification when these things happen. And if you're not in an office and you have computer speakers that are on, you can also turn on a computer system sound. Now, the very important step is making sure that you choose a folder to move it to once you create the rule. I'm going to select folder A for this rule and hit OK. Now I've selected the folder here, and I have the opportunity to move emails from a specific sender to this folder automatically using this rule. I can choose to run this rule now on messages already in this current folder. I can see the message already went away. And I'm going to hit cancel for now so it doesn't run through a few thousand messages in my inbox, but I can see that the one message on top was the first message it moved. And it looked like I found another one from last week as I hit cancel there. Keep in mind, if I go over to rules here, I can always click on manage rules and alerts. I can see I have the notifications rule here. I can select it and I have the option to delete it, or I can disable it, or I can edit the rule. I'm going to delete this rule here. Another tool that you can use that's similar to rules, but you actually have to run the action, is a quick step. A quick step will let you do multiple actions in one click. So I'm going to create a new quick step, a custom quick step, that will automatically perform certain actions to this email, all with one click. Now, keep in mind, we do have built-in quick steps, like a quick step to move this email to a specific folder. I also have a quick step to categorize this email and then move it to a specific folder. Or even flag the email and move it, or email it to a specific person or forward it. But I want to build a custom one that might be a combination of these different steps into one action. I'll call this one my example custom quick step. Now, the very first thing I want to do with an email that I mark with this quick step is I'm going to categorize it. I'm going to categorize it as an example category. The next step I'm going to do when I click this action is I'm going to get that email and I'm going to move it to a folder. I'm going to move it to folder A here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this email and I'm also going to forward it to my other inbox here. That way I have access to it in the other inbox. Some users like to send it to this inbox. And I can even assign a keyboard shortcut to run this quick step. So now, instead of using a rule that automatically runs, I have the option to go into the quick step and using my example custom quick step. This will run all of those actions for me and even forward the email to my other inbox. Keep in mind, I will still have to actually send that message out. I will have to actually do the sending of the message. But it does get that draft ready for me to go on its way. All with one action. I was able to create a quick step that automatically categorized an email. It moves it to a folder, and it forwards it. Now keep in mind, if you don't like some of the quick steps that you've created, you can always click Manage Quick Steps. These older quick steps from previous examples, I'm going to go ahead and delete. And now that I have these quick steps left, I'm going to hit OK to save, and it reflects on that folder in this window here. I encourage you that before we go to the next topic here, try building at least one rule. Once you build the rule, I encourage you to also go to Manage Rules and Alerts and either disable it or delete it so that you don't have access to it or it's not running on its own. This might just be a demo rule. If it's a real rule you want to use, just leave it. I also encourage you to build a new quick step, and if you don't like the quick step at the end or you don't plan to use it, just go over to quick steps and manage them and delete or edit the quick step if you need to. And come right back so we can continue talking about some Microsoft 365 productivity tips and tricks. Still some more pretty good ones in store for us. Practice our Outlook rules and quick steps first, though. I'll see you soon. All right. I'm over here on the Chart Templates workbook, and I want to spend some time talking about building charts and saving them as templates so that you can reuse them across your workbooks. So I want you to know that from the Insert tab, you have the opportunity to use a charts command group, or if you're on a PC, you have the opportunity to highlight the data and build the chart from there. Let me explain. I'm going to highlight this data, and the opportunity to insert the chart shows up from Quick Analysis here. I can create a chart and even see a live preview of what chart I want to insert. If I'm unsure about what chart I want, I can always go to More to view the recommendations of the charts based off the data set I have highlighted. This won't happen if you're on a Mac though. So you might have to go to the Insert tab if you're on a Mac and access the charts command group, which is just the same, but you go from the ribbon. They've added the Quick Analysis tool in 2016 for the PC users. Now keep in mind, once you insert a chart, I'm going to pick the recommended charts here. And I'll just pick this very top one from the recommended chart list. The recommended chart list is going to show me all the different style charts it recommends for me based off the data that I have highlighted. Like the clustered column. I can use it to compare values across a few categories. I can use it when the order of the categories is not important there. I have the stacked column. A stacked column chart is used to compare parts of a whole. Use it to show how segments of a whole change over time. And I have another clustered column, but this time, instead of the weeks being in the legend, I have the salespeople in the legend. They've swapped the X and Y axis. A clustered column chart, again, is used to compare values across a few categories. I also have the stacked area charts to display the relationships of parts to a whole over time or categories. Wouldn't really be too useful for this setup, but I'll pick this very top recommendation here. Now keep in mind, if you go over to the recommended charts option and you're browsing these recommendations and you're like, I don't like any of them, you can always go to all charts. All charts will show you the list of all available chart types in Excel and the different styles for that chart type. And if you notice, you can also access your templates from here, which we've yet to create one. But I can access all of my templates and even manage and delete some of my older templates from here, or add new templates that someone has sent to me from here as well. When I click on Manage Templates, I can drag and drop my template files into here. So I want to build a template, but let me just add one of the recommended charts first as my base. So this is a chart object. This is a chart object, and it lives alongside the data set on charting 1. I have the opportunity to right-click this chart and move the chart to something we call a chart sheet. This will move it to a separate sheet without the spreadsheet behind it. Great for printing and great for posting on a PowerPoint presentation, and also great for editing like we're doing here so we can focus on just that one chart that we're looking at. Now this chart sheet that I've created can always be moved back to the other sheet if I need to. I can right-click and hit move chart. And if I need to move it back over to charting 1, I can make it an object in charting 1 again. But I like to have it as a separate sheet, so I'm going to move the chart into a chart sheet for myself. Now when I have a chart selected, you're going to notice these icons pop up for me to edit certain elements of my chart or even remove them altogether. If this is going to go in a presentation and it already has a title, why have a title there? If you want, you have the ability to get the legend and move it to the top now since you got rid of the title. I can also go if I need to, and I can change the styling of this chart with the built-in style sets that are available. You can hover over them. Like hovering over them actually reveals what we call the live preview. And these are predetermined style sets. Like this one already has the data labels turned on for me. They went to the plus sign and added in the data labels for me. I really like that. I don't even need grid lines anymore. Okay, maybe I really like this styling here. I really like the styling, but I want to change the chart colors to match Excel for green. I can read on more on how to change these colors by going to the page layout option and changing the color sets for the theme if I need to. I can constantly change the color sets for the theme, and now I have different color sets to pick from. So page layout will definitely let you change your theme colors. And if you need to, you even have a filtering tool to select what week you're analyzing and comparing it to another week. But ultimately, if you want all of your charts to look like this, to have this styling, to have the data labels, to have this coloring, you have to save this as a chart template. So I got it to looking the way I want it, but now I don't want to have to do this every time I insert a new chart. So if I go here and I add a new chart, I don't want to have to do this every single time. Now I have to format it all over again. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this chart and I can right click to save it as a template. Unfortunately, this is the only area you can go to save it as a template with the right click. When I click Save As Template, it's going to show me the designated area that it needs to be saved in order for this template to show up when you insert charts. I'll call it my chart template example from April 17th and hit save. So now if I need to go and I need to insert a new chart, I can always go to my recommendations and click on all charts. Under templates, I will find the chart template from April 17th and all the formatting that I've created. I can also go to the Insert tab and click on Recommended Charts. This will take me to all charts, where I can access my templates yet again and create that template file with the data set that I have highlighted. So, you can insert a chart, you can customize the chart, you can move the chart around, you can save the chart as a template, and then you can reuse that formatting and style set. You don't have to be the creator of it to even save it as a template. There might be times a user sends you a chart and you realize that it's a good idea to save this as a template for yourself. Go ahead and practice creating a chart template and see if you can use the chart template once creating it. Come right back because we want to start talking about macros next. All right. I'm inside of the recording macros worksheet, which has a couple of examples that we can use to practice recording macros. If you're unsure what a macro is, by definition, a macro is a small set of computer instructions. Now, in Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, we use VBA, Visual Basic for Application. This is what's going to be used to record our macro. When we record a macro, there's a script being created behind the scenes, and every click and every command that we use is being translated to a code in Visual Basic for Application. This script can later then be reviewed, edited, and accessed, and reused over and over again for the user of the application. Now keep in mind, in order to use the macros and the full libraries and all the editing features and the control features that we have access to, you have to turn on the Developer tab. In the File tab, when you scroll down under Options, you have access to a choice called Customize Ribbon. And something that you can do is you can turn on the Developer tab so that you can record your macros and access your macro library and even use the VBA editor all from one tab. I already have my Developer tab on, so it's there, but some of us might not have it on, but you can always go to the File tab to turn it on like we just did. Next, I want you to know that you can save your macro in two locations. You can save your macro in two locations. When you record it, it's going to prompt you to save it in this workbook or your personal macro workbook. Let me show you what I mean by this. When I go to the Developer tab and I choose to record macro, I can store the macro in my personal macro workbook or this workbook. Now keep in mind, if I do it in this workbook, I must save as a .xlsm file. You have to save this workbook as a macro-enabled file if you save it in this workbook, otherwise the macro won't be saved. If you save it into the personal macro workbook, this means that the macro can be used across all workbooks. The reason why is because the personal macro workbook is actually a hidden workbook. In the View tab of all of your workbooks, once you create the personal macro workbook, you'll have the option to unhide it. This is a magical workbook that's stored in your application files. It opens up every time Excel opens up without you knowing. This is why your macros work across all of your workbooks. This workbook is secretly open behind the scenes. It's just hidden, so we never see it. I can unhide it to edit the macros, view the macros, and when I'm done, I can go back and hide it. I don't really keep anything besides macros in my personal macro workbook. And for today's demo, I'm going to be saving my macro in this workbook. The third thing I want to mention is you can record your macro in two ways. One way is called the absolute referencing. The macro will run exactly how it was recorded. And what I mean by this is if I record myself typing in my name, the company name, and the date in these three cells, the macro will have no choice but to always run the recording in these three specific cells. I can also go to the Developer tab and use something not absolute referencing, but relative referencing. I can go to the Developer tab and turn on relative referencing. The macro will run relative to your cell address box location. So even though I record my macro in a specific set of cells, I can run the macro in another set of cells. I'm going to record my macro in relative referencing mode. So these are some guidelines, some tips that I have for recording my macro, and now I want to begin the recording process. Now I want to record a very basic macro of me creating a header. I want to create a header that simply has my name, my company name, and the current date in 3 cells. And I want to run this macro on any cells to play the recording. So I want to build a relative referencing macro. I'm going to click on the Developer tab here, and I'm going to record my macro. I'm going to call it my first macro. It has to be one word in the naming convention. And I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut Control, and I'm going to hold down just the Shift key and the letter F for first. That way the Shift key can be added to the shortcut. Please note that you only hold down the Shift key and the letter. You do not include the Control, or you'll get no response. I'm going to save it in this workbook here and add a little description that this is a demo of a macro creation. When I hit OK, the recording has started. I'm going to go to the top cell A1 and type in my name. I'm going to go in and type in the company name. And because I want the date to show up, I'm going to put equal today. Open and close parenthesis. That's always going to make sure that the current date on my computer displays in that cell. And when I'm done, I'm going to go back and hit Control and the Home key and click on cell A1. And I'm going to go to the Developer tab and stop the recording. So this macro has been recorded in these 3 cells, but I used relative referencing. So if I hit Control Shift F, I can see that the macro can run on another set of cells. Control Shift F on another set of cells. It's also prompting me that I have to save this as a macro-enabled file type now. I'm going to go to Save As and make sure that I do that. My workbook is saved as a macro-enabled file type. Ooh, let me make sure I did that correctly. Save As. There we go. That warning will go away once that gets saved as a macro-enabled file type. I also have access to go to the Developer tab, and I can view my macro from the macro library. And under my first macro, I can hit Run. Now, what can we do with macros besides build a header? Well, I can record myself formatting a worksheet, and then next month, and the month after that, it will have it formatted with just a click of a button. I'm going to record a macro to format the pair company data sheets, and I'm going to have this recording saved so that I can rerun it month after month. I'm going to use relative referencing for this macro, and I'm going to call it my second macro. I'll use Control and the Shift and the letter M for this macro, and I'll save it in this workbook. I'm going to click on cell A1, and I'm going to go to the Home tab and format this as a title. I'll go cell A2, and I'll go to the Home tab, and I will format this one as a heading 4. And I'll hit enter, enter, tab, tab, and I'll put equal today as the run date. So the current date will show up when I run the macro. And I'll hit tab, tab, ran by, and I'll put my name there. And I'll hit enter here, and I'll hit Control Shift to the right, Control Shift down, those navigation shortcuts to select the data, go to home, and mark it as input. And at the very end, I'll hit Control Home to go back to A1 and click on it. And now that I've recorded this macro, I can stop the recording. I'm going to run this macro on the data 4 running. If I go over to the Developer tab and I use my macro library, I can use my second macro and hit run. I can also run it on a larger data sheet. This time I'm going to use the shortcut, Control, Shift, and M. Ultimately, a macro is a small set of computer instructions that you're recording. These macros live inside of your macro library. You can edit the macros if you know VBA. You can just go to the options here and edit the shortcut if you need to update the shortcut. But these macros are now saved inside of this workbook. In addition to using your macros with shortcuts, you also have the opportunity to go to the Controls command group from the Developer tab and insert a button to run your macro. This will only work if you're on a PC because PCs only have form controls. I'm going to assign my first macro to the button. And now I can use my first macro with a click of a button there. I encourage you to turn on your Developer tab. See if you can save your macro in this workbook and record a macro in relative referencing. First, build the header macro and test it. See if you save your workbook correctly, add the button correctly, run the macro from the macro library, and then go on to recording the formatting macro. Keep in mind that once a macro has been run, you can't undo it. So if you feel like you're running out of worksheets, you might want to make a copy of the last worksheet before running the macro. That way you have more practice sheets to work on. Give it a go. This workbook's called Recording Macros. I'll see you soon for our next topic on PowerPoint's Slide Master. All right, I'm over here in our PowerPoint presentation. And when I'm looking at it, I can see that there are just 4 different slides available in the whole presentation itself. When I go over to the Home tab, though, I have access to add in new slides. These are the slide layouts that I have access to. These have been created using the Slide Master. I want you to know that in every PowerPoint presentation, you have the ability of going to the View tab. And you have access to something called the Master Views. One of them being the Slide Master. This controls the entire look of the presentation, things like colors, fonts, background effects. I can also insert things to one slide and have it automatically show up on all of the slides that use that specific layout. Let me open the Slide Master view and give us a tour of how we can utilize this area of PowerPoint. All right, I'm in the Slide Master view, and as soon as I do that, I see a special tab pop up called Slide Master. I'm in the Slide Master tab. If I close the master view from here, it will get rid of this tab. But if I go back over to the View tab and I open up the Slide Master again, I will go back to the Slide Master tab to create and modify my layouts. Now when I scroll up to the top here, I can see that there is a connection going on here Where at the very top, I have something called my master slide. And it's ultimately connected to every single layout that I have access to in the presentation. I have the opportunity to going slide layouts to slide layout and adjusting them. Like, let's say if I go over to this slide layout, the title and bullets layout, and I insert a shape, a star. I insert a star directly into the right-hand corner of it. And I go back over to the View tab. And when I close the master view, I can see that every single layout that decided to use titles and bullets, that one has now a star on it. I can't remove it, it's part of the layout. Let me go back to the View tab, open the Slide Master, and remove it from the layout itself. And when I close the master view again, I can see that that layout star has been disappeared on all slides that use this layout. I can also add in a whole new layout from here. I want a layout that holds just my chart and a title. So when I go to the View tab and I open up the Slide Master, this time I'm not going to edit the existing layouts, but I'm going to insert a new layout. From the Slide Master tab, I'm going to hit Insert Layout here. I'm going to rename this layout. I'm going to hit Rename up here to Chart Only. And I'm going to insert a placeholder for the chart. Now, when I go back to the Slide Master tab and I hit Close Master View, I can see that I have access to Chart Only, Chart Only. I can have the opportunity to insert a chart directly in this slot and even pick from my templates, like the template I created in the previous example there. So, the View tab has a special area called the Slide Master. The Slide Master controls the overall look and feel of your presentation with the top slide. You can also modify single layouts by adding an object or changing the font or color or the borders of these layouts, and it affects all slides in your presentation that use the layout. I can even create new layouts and add them to the slide templates. That way I can reuse it for the new projects like the charts that I'm planning to add in. Most companies have a template, but you have the opportunity to add layouts to it, modify them without having to reinvent the wheel using the Slide Master. Play around with your Slide Master. Hopefully you can use your company template. If not, you can use my file, the class topic list file, that will be available to you as well. And you can play around with these slide layouts that you're looking at and maybe add in your own chart-only template slide layout. Give it a go, whether it's with your company template or this one. Congratulations on completing Microsoft 365 Productivity Tips and Tricks. My name is Faz Kareem with Learnit. Now, in this lesson, we went through quite a few topics, starting out with the top 10 most useful basic shortcut techniques, and then diving into navigation and selection shortcuts. From there, we learned about our Microsoft 365 interface, the ribbon and the quick access toolbar customizations, and how we can save and use template files in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. From there, we shifted gears and started focusing our inbox and how we can use search folder for saved searches, and even how we can automate our inbox using rules and quick steps. We dabbled a little bit with visuals using chart templates how to create them, save them, and modify them. And then we played around with recording macros in Excel. At the very end, we finished off with the slide master for your presentations and modifying those company templates. I hope you enjoyed the topic list. Keep in mind, now it's time to go use these features in your projects. I hope you enjoyed. Take care, stay well, and stay learning. Have a good one, everybody.